The honourable member for Spadina-Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, the turmoil at IRCC continues. I have an Australian-trained doctor stuck in the department's quagmire. We have badly needed skilled tradespeople who want to come to Canada lost in the logjam, yet no delays in getting citizenship for ISIS terrorists who produce videos dismembering victims. Same with human traffickers needing a court-banned passport replaced. Mr. Speaker, what are the twisted priorities of the immigration minister? Can you focus on letting people into our country who want to heal Canadians, not to kill or traffic them, and to build the homes instead of blowing them up?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why we give this guy the time of day. We drummed this guy out of our party because he covered up allegations of sexual assault against him and was fined by the military by it. He's so bad the Conservatives don't even want him in his party, and he was so afraid of the Green Party leader, he's now sitting over there. He knows precisely the answer to those questions. His office has never brought a single case to me. They're lazy, they don't get anything done, and he just does this for his social media, Mr. Speaker.
Order. It is very important. It is order, please. It is very important that all members are extended the courtesy and the respect that is owed to all members who sit in this place. I will, if necessary, come back to this House as I would review this matter.
Resuming debate. The honourable member for Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, we're debating an issue today that goes to the core of our country and our democracy, which are built on foundational pillars of transparency and accountability. And if you've been listening throughout this debate, as I have, the Liberal responses have been often to deflect or to attack the messenger. Now, Mr. Speaker, you only go personal when you can't defend something based on its merits. You go personal when you cannot defend the indefensible. And unfortunately, this is something that seems to apply to multiple issues that have been raised with this government. Recently I had asked a question related to Chinese foreign interference of the Prime Minister, and again we heard a personal attack. Instead of focusing on the very serious matter of foreign interference, he attacked me, and it was so blatantly and sadly so transparent. Now, in the latest example, we heard yet another pathetic personal attack from the immigration minister during question period earlier today. I don't care about what he called me, because I've been called worse by better. But I do take offense with the personal attacks that he has levied on my staff. Mr. Speaker, my Toronto constituency office is proud to serve not only my constituents, but also other Torontonians who were failed by the immigration minister's Toronto Liberal colleagues. And I could not be more proud of my team for stepping up where they have failed. All four of my team in Toronto are former immigrants. One is a former refugee. And unlike the immigration minister, we actually care about immigrants and the people who choose to make Canada their home, the people who want to work or study here and are a place that they want to visit, often because their families call Canada home and they want to reunite with them. Far too many people have been failed by IRCC and that department under the immigration minister's watch. People who have been caught in some sort of weird purgatory that has been inhumane while they are separated from their family, those who are missing funerals to say their final goodbyes to their loved ones, all because of, I don't know if it's incompetence, ignorance, or something else that's driving the immigration minister. Now, unlike the immigration minister, my office, we actually care about the integrity of Canada's legal and immigration systems. Unlike the immigration minister, we would never abuse our power to make a mockery of Canada's courts and the professional immigration staff by overruling a deportation order issued by his own department, upheld by the federal court to save to save, Mr. Speaker, a 5-time criminally convicted foreign national, a foreign national who boasted of foreign financing to blockade Canadian roads, infrastructure like building of pipelines. No wonder this government doesn't take the issue of foreign interference seriously when they're actively abetting it and saving those who are proud to boast of it. Mr. Speaker, how can we have a country where there is transparency, responsibility, and accountability when we are protecting foreign nationals who boast of foreign interference, when under the immigration minister's watch and his predecessors, they are letting in ISIS terrorists who are in videos dismembering the victims, the people they have murdered, that they then grant them citizenship. Mr. Speaker, I take the issue of immigration seriously because my family, my parents were refugees, welcomed to Canada at a time where other countries were closing their borders to people in need. And I knew of no better way to honor that incredible act of compassion by Canadians then, 40 years ago, than to serve. It's why I volunteered to join the Navy 9.5 years ago, and because there is no better way than to give back and serve the very country that gave my family everything. And so last year, during my honeymoon, my wife very kindly allowed us to take a detour to South Africa so I could meet with Canada's High Commission in Pretoria, because there also is racism there. Racism being perpetuated by locally employed staff hired by the Department of Immigration. People who are perpetuating the injustices of apartheid in Canada's name. And this continues under the watch of this immigration minister. Nothing is done. There are black doctors from South Africa, black nurses, people who want to come here and help Canada to heal Canadians, to relieve the backlog of patients and surgeries that are so bad in British Columbia that they're having to send patients, Canadians, to the US. What a shame and what a sham. And now they are being discriminated against, and that continues under this immigration minister's watch. So you see, Mr. Speaker, this is why I have been so adamant on ensuring that we uphold the highest standards of Canada's legal and immigration systems. Now, this again goes back to the heart of the issue that we have been debating as regards to SDTC. Because it's clear that when you turn a blind eye to corruption, when you turn a blind eye to perhaps at best incompetence, you see what happens. You see how it permeates all different departments in this country, and it's failing Canadians. Mr. Speaker, I want to use my last few moments to simply address a matter that was raised also during the immigration minister when he attacked the competence of my staff. He said my office had never sent his department anything. Well, he should go back to his office and ask his team about the case that was escalated on September 14th, 2024. He should ask his office about another case that was escalated to him on October 23rd, 2024. He should also ask his office about a more recent one sent just last week on November 13th, 2024, about the Australian doctor that I referenced during question period, an Australian doctor of Iranian heritage who left the evil regime because she didn't want to live under the gender apartheid regime, went to Australia, got trained, and wanted to come to Canada to help heal, and now is being stuck in IRCC purgatory. So when he attacks the integrity and competence of my team, and he's pointing at us, he seems to forget that there are also fingers pointing back at him, and he should ask his team, did they intentionally keep it from him, or did they miss it? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions et commentaires. Je reconnais le...
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
And I have to say, I was actually astonished by what I saw in question period today. That was actually, I've seen a lot of personal attacks and a lot of, vitriolic debate, but that was quite exceptional. I can only imagine, but anyway, I get to the point here in that this member, needs, I think, to be given an opportunity, a further opportunity to really address that and to call it for what it is. I mean, that was the action of a deeply insecure bully that we saw this afternoon in question period.
L'honorable député de Spadina.
The honourable member for Spadina, Fort York.
Conservative colleague for standing in solidarity with me and for the opportunity to elaborate a little bit more. Like I said, I have been called worse by much better. And people make personal attacks in this place because they can't defend the indefensible. It is indefensible to try to protect a foreign national who boasts of foreign interference when the country is in the grips of trying to understand the full scope of foreign interference in this country. It is indefensible that citizenship was granted to an ISIS terrorist, and is indefensible at a time where Canadians need to be healed and are hurting, that doctors are being prevented from practicing in our country and building a life here when we need them more than ever. Those are indefensible, and what that minister has done disgraced not only himself, but his office as a minister of the Crown, and I think was a disgrace to everyone in this place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable secrétaire.
The honourable parliamentary secretary.
I wonder if the member can indicate whether or not it is offensive and disrespectful for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada to not get the security clearance. If, in fact, he looks around and every other opposition party and the government have made it very clear, all other leaders have the security clearance, yet the leader of the Conservative Party has something that's hidden in his background that he doesn't want to share with Canadians, and as a result is refusing to get the security clearance. Does he feel like the rest of the Conservative caucus, this is maybe where he can get a gold star from the Conservative caucus here, does he feel that the leader of the Conservative Party should get a security clearance? Ideally, yes or no. Should he or shouldn't he?
L'honorable député.
The honourable member.
This member gets a gold star from the Liberal Party for trying to deflect so obviously. And I said this in my remarks, knowing that this was going to come up. You deflect from the core issue because you cannot defend the indefensible. And that is why they deflect as much as they can. They try to make this big thing about the security clearance when it is the Prime Minister who is sitting on intelligence of 11 parliamentarians who have been noted as having betrayed this country. These 11 parliamentarians are in the protective custody of the Prime Minister. Why? What is he so afraid of, Mr. Speaker?
Questions et commentaires, je reconnais l'honorable député.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Edmonton.
From Spadina, North York, was excellent talk today. I'd like to ask him to comment on the member from Winnipeg's obsession about security in light of the fact that the Liberal government gave taxpayers money to an illegal Chinese police station in Montreal, not once, but twice. And not only did the Liberal government fund these illegal police stations, they extended them charitable tax status. I wonder if my colleague could comment on that.
L'honorable.
The honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, it is insane that this federal government, under their watch, they have not only extended taxpayer dollars, but also charitable status to organizations that are fronts for the Chinese Communist Party. And I have to ask, what is the incentive? What is their motivation? Is it because they benefit in some way? As we've heard at the Hogue inquiry, where members of their caucus and their party have benefited through help to secure nominations, fundraising. What is the motivation? And why have they dragged their feet for as long as they have? What do they have to be afraid of? What are they scared of coming out by naming the 11 parliamentarians? And so when they continue to focus on this issue of security clearance, well, Mr. Speaker, we don't need a security clearance to know that there are 11 parliamentarians named not only in the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, but it's been validated by the Hogue inquiry. It's been validated by multiple news reports. And so what we need to know is why the Prime Minister refuses to name those 11. What is he so afraid of?
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable.
Questions and comments? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
You have a Canadian that was assassinated. You have many Canadians that are being extorted. You have the leadership of the Conservative Party being manipulated all through foreign interference. You have China and Russia that are actually spending gobs of money to try to discredit this particular Prime Minister, all to the advantage of the Conservative Party, and yet you have the leader of the Conservative Party saying, I don't care. I don't want the security clearance. He doesn't want to know. Does he really not want to know, or is he scared to tell Canadians what's his background that's preventing him from getting the security clearance? And why is the member defending the Conservative leader? He's actually saying, it's okay. It's okay. We don't have to be concerned about foreign interference. Is he or is he not concerned about foreign interference? And if he is, then he should not be supporting the Conservative leader.
Bon, je demanderai évidemment aux collègues.
I call for some decorum and respect for people who have the floor, especially when the chair is speaking. Thank you, honourable members. The honourable member may now answer.
I hosted a press conference just a couple of weeks ago where we brought in an investigative journalist who has been at the forefront of identifying foreign interference. We brought in the former Asia-Pacific desk chief at CSIS, and we brought in a sinologist, all experts in identifying Chinese foreign interference. And at that press conference, names were named. And one of the names that was raised was the International Trade Minister. And I believe that that minister sits on that side with this member. And so when they raise this issue of foreign interference, who is the one who's truly not taking this seriously? Bringing up the Conservative leader, he himself has said, name the names. I don't care which, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially has said he doesn't care which party they're in. And that is because the issue of our democracy and the integrity of this place and our country goes beyond partisanship. That should matter more than whoever they are, because we need to root out these traitors. They are a cancer in our democracy, and we need to go in there and remove them and shine a light into the shadows where these foreign operatives hide.
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Calgary Centre.
And I felt compelled to rise on this question today with the member and his speech, and I really appreciate the speech he gave. What I really want to do is apologize to him on behalf of this whole House for the comments he endured during question period today, because they are beyond the pale of anything I've seen in this House of Commons so far, and he did not deserve that. And frankly, I think that the Speaker should have that member that made those comments, that minister of this government, removed from this House for a period of time for saying such heinous things about another member of this House that are frankly untrue. But I will ask a question, because it's incumbent upon me to ask a question here at this point in time. And I would ask him, this is a member that knows both what's required to be a member of Parliament as far as security clearance goes and what's required of the military for that security clearance. And does he think there's anything outside of muzzling the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition in the questions he gets to ask the government that would be accomplished without the security that the leader of the opposition already has, and he's just doing his constitutional role?
L'honorable député.
Honourable member.
I actually have a security clearance myself as a result of my role as a Naval Reserve officer. And there's a very rigorous process that goes through it. And there are requirements incumbent on anyone who has clearance to access certain information. And that includes, to put it simply, muzzling one's ability to be able to use it. So the role of the official opposition, as the Liberals know full well, is to hold the government to account. But by getting into their trap that they're trying to set up in getting, the security clearance, it then would prohibit the leader of the official opposition from doing his duty of holding the government to account. Let's instead focus on the fact that the Prime Minister does not need security clearance to name the names. He, as the Prime Minister, has the ability to declassify all of that. And he conveniently was able to go to the Hogue inquiry and just throw out there that, he's allegedly seen some conservative names. Well, that's convenient. I thought we couldn't reveal anything because we need to protect intelligence and protect the methods and all of that. But it doesn't seem to matter to the Liberals when it can be of potential partisan advantage to them to magically declassify. just like they've magically alleged around India, only for the National Security Intelligence Advisor last night to completely walk that back, all at expense of our country and our relationship with the largest democracy in the world. Shame on this government.